Hey guys, Coach here. Hey, this week we are talking about drainage. Drainage in a very unique way. One that in my lifetime I never thought I'd really be discussing. And yet here we are, okay? AI and drainage. Well, AI can design you a beautiful, beautiful backyard in generally about 30 seconds. But can AI keep your basement dry? Can AI predict that if you had water in a certain spot of your particular yard, would your foundation suffer? Would it allow enough information to you as a DIYer to prevent ponding and pooling, etc., in your front or backyard? This is what we're talking about today. And I appreciate you joining me, so let's get started. Hey guys, Coach here. Don't forget the consultation services that we have at youryardcoach.com. Hey, welcome back and thanks for staying with. Hey, in this particular episode, I'm diving into an area where I am not an expert except for what I have researched. I'll tell you that straight up. In my family, I am not the techno whiz at all. I come to you from a position of experience, boots on the ground, landscapes design and installed level of experience. All the techno stuff and the AI stuff and the chat GPT stuff, I leave that to Maestro. She is a whiz at it and enjoys it a lot. So today in 2026, I come to you as a 67-year-old retired landscape designer and contractor, and also nursery manager and horticulturist and DIYer. I am not the guy who is going to come to your home with an AI generated photo and maybe an estimate in hand and generate it from an iPad and give it to you in 30 seconds. That's not me. And from what I have seen, drainage and water is some of the biggest problems that people face with their landscapes. They don't manage it from the beginning, and the problems only get worse and magnified. So they run to their computer and they ask some AI generated algorithm to help solve it. And I would say, to kind of be fair, AI tends to lend itself, in a majority, so to speak, to what would look good in someone's landscape. But drainage is not necessarily about what looks good. It's more about where water is, water goes, and how you get it there. Now, in 10 years, I could be very, very wrong. And I hope I am. I hope that technology is able to solve these problems for homeowners at just a couple keystrokes. It would be fantastic. We're not there yet. So, to be fair, let's talk about what AI can do for us. You could probably punch in and type in a bunch of requests, and AI could probably generate something that might suggest, hey, you might want to think about permeable paver solutions for your back patio so that water can be percolated through the patio, captured, and then drained off. It will probably only tell you permeable pavers, though. It might recommend a rain garden as a terminal point for your house and landscape drainage so that water could be somewhat directed to this area, captured and allowed to percolate and not just rush out onto the sidewalk in the street. In some municipalities in my country, the US, and probably in other places, you can no longer just discharge rainwater right across the public sidewalk. And if you do, you open yourself up to litigation, because if it algifies or molds or whatever and becomes slippery and someone's walking and they slip and fall and break a wrist or break a hip, if it can be directly linked to what you did, see where I'm going? So AI might also be able maybe might be able to identify low spots in your landscape if you submitted enough information and photos, etc. It might suggest, if you put in enough information, that French drains might be a solution worth exploring if you tell it that you have a large slope in your backyard that is discharging water into your backyard, causing flooding, and it will suggest to explore French drain system, a good French drain system, one that is put in correctly. So let's talk about what AI cannot do, nor can what AI can see, at least at this point in time. I keep going back to that because the world is moving at such a rapid pace. I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. I really don't. So let's take a look at a couple things. And these are some of the things that I used to do as a landscape consultant and also as a contractor and designer. These are things that I looked at and made recommendations for a solution just by me being on site. AI doesn't quite enter into this realm yet. So how about the Smiths invite me over to give them an estimate on designing and contracting. And I show up at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and we start talking and I start evaluating the site. This is a human with a human brain that, believe it or not, still is working. And I end up getting there and I see some things. And I check some things. For instance, what type of soil do they have? Do they have a really compacted, hard pan type of soil that causes very little percolation? Do I understand by maybe digging just a little bit in some various parts of the landscape what I see as far as a soil density, a soil composition, and what type of correction might be needed if we bring a new landscape into the fold? Would it allow for me to understand the freeze and thaw cycles that a landscape would go through and a hardscape would go through throughout the seasons from one year to the next? And just as important, if not right in the top 3, how's the grade of the Smiths landscape? What kind of slope? Do we have negative slope to the house? Do we have very well graded slope, away from the home? Do we have large hillsides? Is the house sitting in a fishbowl like my first house in Hayward, California? A first look at that, I didn't know that I was going to have a problem with it, and boy, did I learn quick. But AI wouldn't have told me about that. It really wouldn't. How about something as simple as finding that the giant northern maple that is sitting in the front yard, that is 40 feet high and 30 feet wide, has developed such a root heave and a root system that it is now lifting the front walkway and a portion of the driveway? AI would not necessarily see nor offer a solution for that unless you typed in a bazillion amount of information. And then how about the prediction of any subsurface water movement that might be present or that you need to create in order to capture and evacuate problematic water? Drainage really isn't a surface design. It isn't. It's a subsurface, and it's really kind of a subgrade strategy to permanently and long-term correct and prevent and mitigate water problems that could be on your landscape. So for me, as a consultant, this is where I pull out of my little toolbox and I put on my teacher hat. And I show these folks, whether I do the work or they do the work or they hire somebody to do the work, these are the things I want you to pay attention to and I want you to address when you do a landscape project. Because here's what I find and here's what I see and here's the solution. And AI, I don't think does that just yet. Only somebody with a little bit of boots on the ground experience and can actually read and see and forecast potential problems is the way that you still solve landscape issues. Landscape. I'm not talking about other genres of anything else. I'm talking about like here at Brook and Pond. If I had taken a picture of the front of Brook and Pond and I asked AI to landscape it for me, I probably would have got back a very beautiful picture, but it would not have addressed certainly the rocky, loamy, clay-like soil composition that was here. It would not have addressed the slope that I have. And boy, in some places do I have slope. And I probably would have got a picture back, but what I've seen with a lot of AI pictures, it certainly doesn't have one out there that suggests drainage yet at all that I have found. Now, please prove me wrong, and send me an email or drop me a comment or send me a link or whatever, but I haven't found it yet. So when it comes to AI, I don't think it addresses the real world factors that enter into landscape projects and property preservation over the long term. So when you're thinking about drainage, we're always going to be dealing with those real world factors that call for a good 2% slope away from your dwelling. Now that's not very much. In some people's eyes, that would still look flat, but 2% is plenty of slope to evacuate water away from a foundation. And I have seen, and I'll tell you one story is when I had a home in Vallejo, California, that I actually, the developer's lot grader, the guy that comes in with a box scraper and a front end bucket, he graded it so that there was a negative slope from the house above me to my foundation. It literally, water ran towards it. And if I had taken a picture of that house and asked AI to give me a nice landscape, it probably would have generated a great picture, but it would not at all have addressed, hey, it looks like you have a negative 2% slope towards your foundation. You should really change that, in which I had to do. I had to get in there and play with it and pull from the high and level out the low. And eventually I was able to put a nice exposed ag walkway through there that actually did not cause any sort of negative slope at all. Plus I had downspout hookups and evacuation to the front yard. So it turned out okay, but it would not have been caught by our modern technology just on a computer screen. So something else that it may or may not be able to tell you, and that is, hey, you've got this kind of soils and you want to put in a 120 square foot paver patio. And because of your soils, you need to do this kind of preparation so that you can put in your paver patio and not have any sort of problems down the road. Frost heaving, settling, that kind of stuff. So remember that. The other thing that it probably does not address, and that is roof runoff versus yard runoff. And the two have to work together. You have to be able to control the water coming off of your house. Then you have to be able to control that water once on the ground and in the yard to keep it away from the foundation so that you don't end up with that capillary action that goes right through cement and ends up leaking and weeping and oozing into basements and sub-foundation spaces that cause problems. And you have those proverbial damp spots that have to be addressed. I like the fact that when you address things from a human being to human being relationship, you can look at them in the eye and say, you see the type of soil that you have? In order to get those beautiful plant X's to thrive here, you're going to need to do this and this and this. And that's where life experience and education and real world testing by doing your own yards over a period of time, this is where you end up saying, I want you to go get this particular amendment and this particular fertilizers, starter or whatever, and this particular micronutrient, and then dig your hole this way and plant your plant, and then take care of it and water it about like this. And that's how that plant X, is going to thrive for my consulting customer. Hey, you should take a minute and check out the website, youryardcoach.com, where when I can offer some goods and services there that might help you with your landscape problem that you have and where you want it to be when it's all said and done. Whether you're doing it as hiring a professional, to if you're doing it 100% DIY or some hybrid in between, probably could help you out. Check out the checklists, the consulting, the designing, the actual on-site, boots on the ground consultant there for days or weeks at a time. I'm available for you, youryardcoach.com. So here's another strong, strong emphasis on the human aspect of landscaping that AI can't quite get their heads around just yet. And that is what could be missed. What could be missed by snapping a photo of the Smith's front yard, sending it to an AI algorithm, asking them to generate a beautiful landscape with A, B, C, D, E, F, and G particulars in it, and then you get it. But does it happen to mention that those particular plants that you really wanted on that property line out front would work well for the next 3 years, but the neighbor next door has a particular tree that's going to be 40 by 40 in the next 5 years. It's going to shade you out, period. This is where you have a human that looks at it and goes, whoa, look at that right there. That's going to be a problem. So think about the human aspect and the human experience built into an on-site type of consult. This is where AI is not at yet. And when it comes to drainage, you're not going to have AI be able to tell you what your percentage of slope is on the property, how deep you're going to want to go, how much square footage of roof is draining off, where the neighbor's drains come and enter your property, how big a piping are you going to need to control X amount of water, where are you going to discharge it safely, will you have enough slope to get it from the backyard to the front yard, or will you need to put a mechanical sump back there that'll capture your backyard water and your French drain runoff, dump it into the basin, and then pump it out to a safe evacuation point? Yeah, I don't think it's there just yet. And then what about something that might be kind of underestimated? I look at AI as a tool that can, let's just say, I think it's a tool that could inspire, but it can't install. And the two are two totally different things. It's like AI is kind of like Pinterest on steroids. It can inspire you to, oh my God, that's exactly what I was looking for. But can it take an underskilled DIYer and be able to say, okay, if you put in this beautiful patio system and this raised decking and everything else, just remember you're probably going to need to have a drainage hole in the patio because you're really kind of flat. You don't have any evacuation point. These are the things that are kind of underestimated. But it gives you that new car smell, doesn't it? When you see the picture and you go, that's exactly, yes, that's it, that's it. Now, take that and go one step further. What needs to be done in order to accomplish that picture, that finished look, and yet have all the infrastructure and everything else that a good landscape needs in order to function properly? Very big, big hurdle right there. So let me ask you a question. Would you trust AI to solve a drainage issue at your house? In this day and age, right here, right now, what's your first impression of that question? Let me know. Let me know exactly what you think. And if you'd like to, right in the link below, I have a poll question for you. You can find that. I'd love to know where your head is at right now when it comes to solving water issues in your landscape or your parents' landscape or your neighbor's landscape. Would you trust AI to do it right now? Check out the poll. Only take a couple minutes, what the heck? So keep this in mind, and unless you're controlling it, this is a biggie. Water always wins. no matter what happens, you could have the most beautiful landscape picture and design. But if you're not addressing the water issue in your particular situation, you will have a struggling landscape, you will have an unusable landscape, and you will have a landscape and property that is not valued at its peak, unless you fudge and lie if you ever sell it. You need to really be able to control that water and direct it in a place where it makes sense, whether you capture and reuse it or whether you discharge it. Whatever you do, it has to be done in a way that's a win-win. Win for you, win for your landscape, and win for your property values. I'll tell you this, gravity and water flow, an AI algorithm or a Pinterest board or whatever does not care about those pictures. Gravity is gravity. Physics are physics. And truly, in my experience, many homeowners really underestimate what they have out there until they attempt to do it themselves and make some mistakes, or they hire a contractor and the contractor points out a few things that, hey, you really need to, this is important here. You notice how wet it is over here and how dry it is over here. And, you need to have your eyes and your ears and your brain opened up to the potential of where problems could occur. So at this particular point, keep in mind this, and I'm talking to you guys and gals that really are really techno savvy. You really are. And if you have somebody like me who is basically an analog brain with a lot of experience, and I am not a digital brain that can keep up with all you and all your keyboarding, your social medias and that kind of stuff, I'm going to talk to you probably like your parents did. I'm going to show you in a way that is much more in your face, world reality type of stuff without showing you a bunch of keyboard strokes and that kind of stuff. That's, I'd like you to use that AI for visual inspiration, and then reach out to somebody who has some real world experience and see if that person can look at those pictures and compare it to your site and say, yes, that can work there. However, you need to do some things like drainage, like regrading, like irrigation, like compaction and creation of patios that have a particular drainage slope or a drainage drain in the center because you have no slope. So you need to create slope. You need to put a sump back here, etc. But like I said earlier, inspiration is an installation. And where the rubber meets the road is where you really want to have, still in this modern age, a little bit of knowledge and education. And what better ways to have someone, a coach on your shoulder there that can help you, guide you through. So think about this. Having the ability to know where runoff is going to go, having the ability to know where your downspouts are directed, and do they need to be connected to something or they need to be just dumped at the foundation of your home. Is that patio that you love so much in that picture, is it slightly below grade? And because it's below grade, will it end up becoming a pond during a heavy rain event or during a spring thaw? And then again, where is the overflow during a heavy rain? Where's it going to go and how is it going to be managed? This is what someone like myself and many other good professionals out there, this is what we teach and this is what we point out. And this is where your consultation dollars go, hopefully to somebody that's actually going to address the issue instead of being a yes ma'am or a yes man and just tell you what you want to hear. Take your money and vamonos. No. Sometimes we're going to tell you, hey, I like your idea, but from what I see right here, that ain't going to work. And here's why. If you want that to work, you need to do A, B, C, and D in order to correct things, capture things, evacuate things, regrade, reslope, compact here, loosen here, etc. Those are the things that the actual experienced contractor and consultant does for you. I mean, you have to keep in mind, if you have a 2,000 square feet of roof, think about this a second. 2,000 square feet of roof, and you have a 1-inch rainstorm, that roof captures and discharges over 1,200 gallons of water. And I'm talking to you guys out there that know all about 2-inch rainstorms, 3 inches in 2 days. You know, the place in Tennessee, Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and Georgia. Look at the volume of water that was created in these events. Can you imagine? Take this, visually think about this for just a second. 17 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. 17 inches of rain. If I had that here at Brook and Pond, I would not be able to evacuate myself fast enough, because the brook down at the road would probably be such a raging torrent, it would be a man killer, and my driveway would just be eradicated. So the people in, I think it was Waverly, Tennessee a few years ago, where they had 17 inches of rain, it literally wiped out towns. It took houses and just threw them down a newly created river that used to be a tiny brook, gone. So if you had a drainage system in like that, you might have enough control where your property could be salvaged. It would be close, it really would. But if you could direct water away from your property and water that wanted to come onto your property, then maybe you would be the one that didn't get wrecked. So we've talked about a little bit of what AI can do for you, and we've talked about what AI cannot do for you. But let's review just really quick. It can help you brainstorm drainage solutions. It won't tell you how to do those solutions. It might show you some product options that are out there. It might help you research some materials that might be needed. And it could, in some cases, be able to budget some type of an estimation of cost. So when it comes to drainage, and drainage only, you can use AI for your planning, but remember to use physics for your execution. And that is a big, big thing. Remember your slope in your trenches. Remember the proper distance from the home that water needs to be discharged. Remember that if you're putting in mechanical sumps, how many feeds into your basin do you have, and what size pump and discharge pipe are you using? All of this is human experience, but AI can assist you. So I'm gonna leave you with this. The danger over the next 10 years and beyond isn't that AI will ruin landscaping and ruin drainage concepts. It's that it will tend to give people confidence without competence. Confidence without competence. You can type up a plan to have AI help you, but it's still going to require you to go out and get the trencher, dig the trench, have the proper slope, have the right gravels, have the right fabrics, have the right elbows and tees and size of pipe, etc. Still going to require you to do that. It's not going to tell you how to put in 100% a nice paver patio or concrete patio or a deck. It may say, hey, it would be really nice if you had a 400 square foot patio out here and then you could do your kitchen and etc. It's not going to tell you necessarily how to do it. And if you do it, do you have the competence to do it correctly? So AI can help you design your backyard. It absolutely can. But water doesn't care about design. Water does not care about design. It cares only about gravity. So address that issue if you come across it. So if you're planning a project, if you're planning a landscape project, brand new home, existing home that you're just buying, remember that one of the top 2 priorities there is drainage first. Check to see if it's there, check to see if it's functioning, or check that you're going to have to put it in and how are you going to do it correctly. So, the question that I gave you earlier in the show, would you trust AI to solve a drainage issue at your house? And that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Hey, don't forget to check out the YouTube video this week that covers this, obviously with a lot more photographic and pictorial accents that go along with it. I do appreciate you hanging with me this long. If you can, hey man, subscribe to the channel, either the YouTube channel or the podcast, either way. And if you have questions regarding this topic or any other landscape topic, feel free to email me, youryardcoach@gmail.com. Catch you guys next time. As always, to your landscape success. Bye for now.